Looking for a guaranteed way to create content that resonates with your audience? Start a podcast. Interview your ideal clients and let them choose the topic of the interview. Because if your ideal clients care about the topic, there's a good chance the rest of your audience will care about it too. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to B2B Growth. I am your host for today's episode, Nikki Ivy with Sweetfish Media. Guys, I've got with me today Thom Kenney, who is president and CEO of SmashFly. Thom, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Nikki?
I'm doing well. You know, I escaped Hurricane Dorian for the time being. You offline. I'm not here at my mom's out near Atlanta, and as I typically say, the sun is shining, and I cannot complain. But what I'm super excited about what we're going to be talking about today, guys. We are going to be transformation as it pertains to recruitment and how leaders can embrace that concept of transformation and something that Thom calls the tour of duty model. When it comes to what the workforce looks like and what work experience looks like these days. And so I'm super excited to get into that. But before we do, Thom, I would love it if you would just give us a little bit of background on yourself and what you and the folks at SmashFly have been up to these days.
Sure. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done a bunch of different businesses and come in and helped businesses grow and did that with SmashFly a little while ago. You know, one of the things that was really interesting about SmashFly was understanding the amount of data that we have, the amount of candidates that we work with, the companies that we work with. All of this data really helps power some tools that deliver artificial intelligence solutions to really identifying talent and then getting that talent on board. You know, one of the challenges that I think a lot of major companies have is it's not about more people. It's about the right people, the right time with the right hiring managers to get them on board. So we work with a lot of different customers around the world to really identify through recruitment marketing, which is really just trying to show potential candidates what the value proposition of working for that company is. We create those connections between people. We help them nurture those candidates, and they end up with great outcomes. You're helping to find a lot of people find really great opportunities. And for us, it's been over 1.2 million people have found jobs with SmashFly. I mean, I love that statistic, talking about how every single day we're helping to make somebody's life a little bit better.
I absolutely love it. We were just talking offline about my passion, and it sounds like our shared passion for connecting humans and connecting with humans. And it relates to what we're going to be digging into today. So when it comes to this idea of the tour of duty model and transformation within organizations with the way that the workforce sort of moves these days, talk about some of the barriers to embracing that tour of duty model and this transformation that people are seeing.
Well, Nikki, let me talk just for a second about what that tour of duty model is to us. You know, when we think about when we were growing up and our parents, they were looking at a job that they would have for 30 or 40 years. They would get a pension and they would retire. But where we are in today's market economy, not just the gig economy, which is a little bit different, but in today's economy, people have flexibility. The workforce is very fluid. People are moving around quite a bit. And when you think about that, you can go from a position that you have for 3 years to another job for 4 years to another job for 3 years. And when you think about it, you're really bringing all of your experience and all of your talent to bear with who you're employed by at that particular point in time. Why it's transformative is when you think about that as a tour of duty, doing 3 years here and 4 years there, what you're doing is you're building a really diverse skill set. You're not just taking skills and experiences from one company, you've actually got multiple. But what's interesting is when you talk to some hiring managers and you talk to some recruiters, sometimes it's a little bit of a stigma. Someone who might have had 2 or 3 jobs in the past 10 years, there are some folks that look at that and say, oh, well, they're just going to leave me in another 3 years, so I'm not even going to talk to that person. But look instead at the experiences that they've had. What were they able to do 3 jobs ago, 2 jobs ago, their last job? And if those people are coming into the organization and they're bringing energy and they're bringing excitement and they're bringing completely new perspectives to the business that they're in, that's a transformative angle that I don't think a lot of companies are really embracing yet. They're worried a little bit more about when they might lose someone. So they're looking at the timelines that this person has been involved with in the past, but they're missing the opportunity of all these diverse experiences they're going to bring, especially those people that are in different geographic locations and different kinds of businesses. The type of experiential learning that they get in those organizations is truly a fundamental aspect of some of the businesses that are changing industries and even inventing new industries.
Yeah, for sure. And I think even, you're talking about 3 to 4 years. I think when you're talking specifically about some of the startups, I think you can learn, like, startup months are like dog years, right? Like the amount of information and experience and real applicable, actionable education that you can get in a startup role, whether you're, working in a sales function or a marketing function, or a customer success function. You're so right. It is like doing a tour of duty, sometimes in the form of taking heavy fire. If you're an SDR and one of those getting hung up on a lot, like I was early in my career. But to your point, yes, to focus on, listen, this person, more than survived this environment. This person went into this environment, contributed whatever they did, and does bring with them a wealth of knowledge and experience that, if you let it, can be extremely valuable in this new environment. So I love that that's the way that you're framing this conversation, and it sort of hints at this other aspect of it that we were talking about, which is, when you work in these environments, typically you've been exposed to a lot of change, right? And this might apply even more to one of the 3 or 4 year models, right? The amount of change that the organization that this person is coming from likely experienced and adapted to and learned from is valuable at this next place that they go. But you said a lot of folks aren't focused on that because they're worrying about other things. Talk about that for us.
So if you think about startups in particular, like you chatted about earlier, the idea behind a startup and the way that we're adapting really is a part of transformation, right? You can't have transformation without adaptation. And I think that's why a lot of companies really love the startup experience, to bring somebody who's at least done that once or twice for 2 reasons. One, I think if you failed, you learn a lot from your failure. I've certainly had plenty of them, and I've learned a lot from them. The very first startup that I ever did, one of my claims to fame is that, it wasn't $1 million idea. It wasn't huge. Yeah, it had a nice outcome, but I learned along the way all these different mistakes that I made trying to do sales and trying to do marketing. And even if you look at the roles, like you mentioned, a marketing position in a startup, a marketing person in a startup is going to be doing SEO, and they're going to do product marketing, and they're going to build collateral for the sales team, and they're going to help build a website, and they're going to be a part of being in a booth for some conference. If you're in a 1,000-person marketing team, you're going to have a very narrow focus. You're going to have a lot of work and you're going to be very busy, but you're going to have a narrow focus. And a startup, that experiential learning and all of the stuff that you're doing to try to transform that company into something that's self-sustainable, you are adapting what you do every single day. And you're feeding that experiential learning tool set that you're going to bring and build on for the rest of your career.
Yeah. They used to call this, right? This person that has this skill set that is more broad. In journalism school, they call that a backpack journalist. And so what you're talking about is these environments that build backpack marketers or backpack salespeople, right? They've got, everything. They're one-man band. They don't have to be, right? But understand, especially now when we're at this inflection point where everybody is talking about and striving towards sales and marketing alignment, there's perhaps no better environment to get to understand how those two functions work together than in a startup environment. And so, these are folks that when you talk about that transformation and that tour of duty model, that are really going to be bringing the value. And so I like the way you're challenging people to really think of that when they see these stints, whether I would say, if you're talking about startups, whether it's a 6-month stint or a 4-year stint or a 3-year stint, whatever it is, to really just be asking the right questions about that time spent to try and glean what was learned, what was experienced, what value could be brought. I love this. I love it so much. And it's to the end of something else that you mentioned offline, which is, this is not about when you look at a lot of folks are, right, who are probably listening to this show and who you work with and interact with on a regular basis, right? You're looking at building a team and trying to get folks to stay on a team rather than looking at it, as you mentioned, as far as like how hard can I push this person to get. Thinking about how to, as you put it, open better doors. I think all of the steps that we've just talked about taking ahead of time as far as how we already are framing the conversation and framing how we look at people is really important. But talk to us a little bit about that last piece of basically empowering those people once you've gotten them hired.
Well, the first thing I'd say is it's not necessarily about better doors. It's just about doors. Mm-hmm. In our role as leaders, we've got to be able to give people the opportunities to walk through these doors that they want to walk through. They may walk through a door that's on a cliff, and it may not be a better door at all, but they need the opportunity to be able to grow and to explore. And one of the things that we've done, we've actually got a really amazing person that was on our marketing team. And we were trying to create more alignment with our sales team, between our marketing and sales team, just like we were talking about earlier. And so one of the things that I see as my job is to open up doors to new opportunities where they can grow and succeed, but not tell them which door to go through. Just give them the flexibility, allow them to take risks. The risk-averse manager, you've got to be risk-averse with certain things. We all recognize that. But we can't be so risk-averse that we prevent people from bringing their ideas to us by having their look at the future goals and where they want to be and where the company wants to be. And we brought this person over from the marketing side and allowed her to open a door. She said, this is where I want to go. This is the door I want to open. And for me, with a servant leadership mentality, it's like, fine, here are the tools that you need to open that door. And she opened it. And my gosh, the transformation that we've seen in the ability to communicate on a metrics perspective between our marketing and our sales team has been absolutely dramatic. So it's about really ensuring that as you're embracing transformation, as you're allowing people to grow, you're just giving them the keys to open those doors. Give them the tools that they need to succeed. Rather than telling them what they need to do, let them show you how they can just completely surprise you with new ideas, new directions. And sometimes when you give people that level of flexibility and give them those opportunities, you open up tremendously new markets. Think about Slack. Slack built a tool inside their company to communicate because somebody had an idea that we don't communicate well. So I'm going to build something. And whatever that first business was that Slack thought they were going to do, nobody remembers that. Everybody remembers somebody gave someone a chance and let them open a door. And look at what happened to a company like that.
I could not agree more. The funny thing is, right, the irony of if you don't take this approach that you and I are talking about, right, if folks who, when recruiting talent, folks who do still focus on what they as an organization, focus too much, that is, on what they as an organization stand to lose, rather than the doors that they can open because they're afraid that, there'll be turnover or folks won't, I'm going to get this person who's not, loyal and doesn't stay long. Well, if you do what you're talking about and give them the tools to open doors, those are the types of things that retain people.
That's the type of culture that makes people want to stay. So you end up having this self-fulfilling prophecy if you're so focused on failure and who's going to leave you versus just like, how can I take these caterpillars into butterflies? You feel me? I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for laying that out for us and letting us get to know a little bit about this thing that you're so passionate about and giving this to our listeners. But now, Thom, after I've gotten a chance to successfully pick your brain and see what I could get out of it, it's time for you to tell us what you are putting in it. Tell us about a learning resource that you've engaged with here recently that, it's informing your approach and it's got you excited these days.
So one of the things that I think is very important as we look at the future landscape of education are all of the resources that you have for online education. So one of the plugs that I'd put out there is for edX. And if you don't know what edX is, it's actually a collaboration of a number of major universities that are putting some of the best content for education online. So if you're a salesperson and you want to understand a little bit more about marketing, they've got a marketing class. If you're a marketing person and you want to understand, all these people are talking about AI, what the heck is AI? Take an introductory AI course, maybe a little bit of programming. These types of technologies are just going to become much more ubiquitous around the world. That self-education, that self-learning is so important if you truly want to be successful in your career. So something like edX can really help you move your needle forward. I use them all the time for just quick and dirty courses, just understand a topic a little bit better or an idea a little bit better, and it helps inform me and inform my decisions.
Yeah, there was another one sort of like that, but it's called Coursera that I subscribed to and then ignored years ago because it felt like a big commitment. I'm telling on myself now. But this one, you said quick and dirty, you say? This one sounds like something that I would probably have time to do. So thank you for that recommendation. I love this kind of stuff. I haven't heard any answer like that yet. So you win the day. Thank you so much. So Thom, like me, I know that everybody listening to this podcast has become a fast fan of yours and they're going to want to keep up with you. Let us know. How can people connect with you?
Best way is through Twitter at SmashFly CEO.
Oh, see, I was expecting LinkedIn and here you go, surprising me again. Thank you so much for being on the show. I'll definitely be reaching out to you and following you on Twitter just to see what other little jewels I can steal, frankly. This has been really, really great. I'm glad to have you on, and I think this is the kind of content we deserve. Thanks
so very much, Nikki. Really excited. Appreciate it.
We totally get it. We publish a ton of content on this podcast, and it can be a lot to keep up with. That's why we've started the B2B Growth Big Three, a no-fluff email that boils down our 3 biggest takeaways from an entire week of episodes. Sign up today at sweetfishmedia.com/big3. That's sweetfishmedia.com/big3.